Good morning. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Anne and I'm an aspiring author writing under the pen name Annalise Carrington. So today, I've decided to take you with me here at home. As if I really go anywhere, because I don't. I rarely go out. But since I started my channel this month, I also started a tentative / experimental schedule when it comes to adding YouTube responsibilities to my already existing everyday schedule / writing time for the weekdays. And I figured, why not do a day in the life / writing vlog to show you how shit's working out for me so far. Because to be honest with you, my word count output has been on a steady decline since the first week of April. But let's get on with it anyways, because the only way out is to bulldoze your way through it. And it sounds unhealthy, but for right now, we're going with it, okay? For today, we're gonna go with it, and maybe for the rest of April, we're gonna go through it. And at the end of the month, I'll see how to tweak it up a bit and figure out a way to make it a better schedule. Because this month, if you've seen my second video, I've decided to join the Rough Draft Challenge for the month of April. And I just want to finish this month, get to my goal at the end of it, however way I can. Just for a little bit for my competitive soul, and I'll tweak my schedule and figure out how to make it better for the rest of the year, or at least for the rest of spring, because my schedule will be changing by the summer because my kids will be off of school, so that's a totally different ball game at that point. So right now, this is what I have for my tentative schedule, and it's experimental for a reason. So we'll experiment and see how it goes. So what does this schedule I've been yapping about actually looks like? I'm glad you asked. It's now 7:49 a.m. on a Monday, and it's April 21st. My kids are out of the house. They just left for school. So now, I'm gonna go get the pupper his breakfast real quick while I talk with you. Multitasking for the win. After the kids leave for school, prepping Ein's breakfast, then taking him out to the backyard for a quick potty break is our next order of business. Usually, while he's doing that, I watch some other tube and I try to get caught up on the new uploads for the day and the ones I might have missed the day before. I find it that watching others in the community, especially if it's a writing vlog, it helps me with my motivation to get my butt in the chair and actually write when it's time for me to write. Somehow seeing other writers do that, putting in the work in their own work in progress, putting in the work in their own books, it helps me not necessarily not have any imposter syndrome or anything like that, but it quiets down the procrastination just a little bit, and the rest of me fighting through procrastination and not wanting to do the writing. And because as much as I love writing, it's hard. And when we try to do hard things, there will be some friction that we have to fight through so we can actually do the hard thing, if you know what I mean. So compared to last week where we had a few days of back-to-back heavy rains, this week was shaping up to be a good one. The sun is out and high, and even though it's a bit warm outside, the wind is also chilly, so I'm gonna keep my hood on and take Ide out for his quick potty break. And I'll see you guys in a few. boy. Medyo mag-boy. That's hot. So, after all that, it's now 8:28 a.m. It's time for us to actually sit down and start first writing sprint. But first, before I actually start writing, let me talk about my book a little bit because I don't think I've actually talked about it much. So, I write in the Achillean dark paranormal romance genre. And Achillean means it's male presenting, whether cis or trans, falling in love with another man, whether cis or trans as well. So it's a more inclusive term for the genre of romance. Well, dark paranormal romance subgenre. So I'm marketing the series as a dark romance because all the main characters are morally gray. So the series title is the Dark Reprisals and Bound Souls series, which if you shorten it with the acronyms, it'll be called DRABS. So I've been calling it the DRABS series whenever I actually mention it to someone in a more conversational manner. DRABS. It's called DRABS. So the series centered around a family of assassins who hurts and unalives people who they have proof. This is the important part. They have proof. They believe them to be doing bad things or to have done bad things, and they have proof of these certain crimes that they believe these people had committed, and or they are still doing it currently and they go after them. So sometimes they get contracted by someone, a family member perhaps of a victim, or when they don't have a lot in their docket, they look for them. They look for this kind of people intentionally and then they go after them. They have proof. Again, I'm reiterating that part. They have proof. They have solid proof. They have hard-ass solid proof that these people are bad. It's not just hearsay. It's not just them thinking it and believing it, therefore it's the truth or a fact. No, they actually have hard-ass facts for it. Proof. They have all the proof. So vigilante justice is a big theme in the entire series, not just in book 1 or any of the other books. For the entire series, vigilante justice is a big theme. And so with book 1, which is my current work in progress, I have my assassin MC named Lachlan Sterling and my vampire MC named Marcus Bianchi. So the family was contracted by a prominent family in their city because of their missing daughter. So while they're doing the investigation on that, they found out that Marcus was the last person who they think had seen her alive. He's the last one that they think had seen her through the proof they had. Well, from there, one of the brothers, Lane, who is their IT guy, their IT genius guy, followed the thread from the first victim that they knew of and Marcus to more other victims in the area. Well, they call them victims because there are a couple of missing persons report on these people, even though no proof have been found that they actually went missing unintentionally. But they consider them missing persons report, and for the start of the book, for these investigation purposes, they consider them taken or kidnapped, something like that. And Marcus was the only one who they found linked all of these people together. So, at the very beginning, Marcus, our MC number 2, my poor vampire boy, was their prime suspect. So they sent Lachlan in to start surveilling Marcus because digitally that Lane can find, well, more precisely, Lane can't find any other proof aside from him being a link, and that's not enough. Through the family ethics, that's not enough. They need more proof, more harder proof that he's actually involved and he actually did anything nefarious for them to actually just focus their sights on him. So Lachlan was sent to investigate Marcus, to watch him, to follow him around, surveil him, and from there the rest of the book follows. So let's get on with our first writing sprint of the day, and we have 45 minutes on the clock, which is my regular sprint Pomodoro interval. I do 45 minutes sprints usually, and that's what we're gonna do for our first writing sprint. We're not gonna start slow, we're just gonna get on with it. So let me walk you through what I needed to do for this first sprint. Last week I stopped writing when I reached chapter 28, and I had a dilemma then that I think might be twofold. Well, maybe it's not really a dilemma per se. I know that before I could continue drafting, I needed to map out my big bads, the villain of the entire story's actions in the background. Because I need him to know some things that got to do with my two main characters without my two main characters, which one is a career assassin and another is a vampire with his stronger than a human's senses and shit. Figuring out that it had been getting this knowledge all along. So like a sleight of hand kind of thing, he had to get these infos in a way that would be believable to the readers and that the two MCs wouldn't have noticed while he's doing it. And I think I figured that little tidbit out last week, but today I had to actually write down those thoughts in my Google Sheet here, which is titled What the Characters Know. I use this Google Sheet to map out what's going on in each chapter, write down a little bit of what's going on in the scene and the plot threads that's in each scene, in each chapter, so I could stay straight, if that makes sense, with what's going on, because I'm pantsing this, or basically plantsing, because before I start writing each chapter, I outline them on a separate document, but I don't know what's going to happen in each chapter until I finish writing the chapter before that. So I write chronologically. That's why I can't jump around in scenes. I have to write the scene before the current scenes first, you know, if that makes sense to you. That totally makes sense in my brain. So anyways, while I'm mapping out my big bad's movements in the background, I figured I needed to brainstorm some stuff at the beginning. Well, at the beginning of the book, things that my bad guy needed to have been doing from the start as a result of his delusion. And the best way for me to brainstorm is to usually write by hand and actually pretend to be talking to someone. That's how my usual brainstorming notes look like. When I'm trying to figure something out in the plot, when I'm trying to make sense of something, I use pen and paper to write my thoughts down as if I'm talking to someone and explaining to them how the idea makes sense to me or how I think the idea is going to go and how it could work. So the first sprint is done, and I just got from stretching a bit while watching Lindy Jung's latest upload. Her book was sold at an auction to be published in the UK, and that was so exciting. So big congratulations on that, Lynn. So I'm back on my hoodie again because the clouds started rolling in out of nowhere and it suddenly got cold even inside the house. But anyway, let's talk about how the first sprint went. So, honestly, that first sprint felt fast to me. Somehow, it felt quick. It felt like the clock was just ticking super fast. I only needed to map a couple of instances where the villain's goals shifted from where they were at originally at the beginning of the book to where they're at now, currently on the timeline of the book. So, to a new one where he could be more proactive in going after my assassin MC, who he now has on his sights because of what happened a couple of chapters before, but in the timelines only the day before, basically the night before. And that's the part that I had to map, and how he managed to got that information, got that knowledge, and that knowledge should push him through doing something different than what he used to do. That should push him to really go after Lachlan, and that poor guy is gonna get it from the bad guy, supposedly. But I need coffee. But we'll see how it's actually gonna end up there during the Dark Night of the Soul. Because for the villain to know what he knows now, he doesn't know everything, but he knows enough. And because of what he knows, emotionally, he is a bit more unstable, and mentally too. Whatever he knew push him to be a bit more bad per se. So now, in the next sprint, I need to deal with chapter 28. Earlier, I mentioned that I am having a twofold dilemma. One side of that is figuring out how the villain finds out what he finds out to push him over the edge. And the other side of that is how I want chapter 28 to go. So last week, I was having the same dilemma of I have this scene outlined a few chapters before. I thought this scene is gonna happen on that chapter. But once I started writing the chapter, I decided to change the POV. And changing the POV, that one single little tiny change, made it so it doesn't make sense for that scene to happen anymore. So there are multiple changes that happened, not just on that scene, but the scene before that and the other scenes following that as well. Anyway, my problem last week was that I really wanted to keep one particular scene because of what happened at the end of that scene, and I really, really wanted it. But because of the changes in the POV and that scene being a moot point, like it doesn't make sense to bring that scene in. There's no way I could bring that scene in anymore because of the change in POV. So I was having to figure it out then if I could still keep it in a way. I would have been able to, I think, make it work if I had forced it, but it would have felt forced. Anyway, so I thought maybe I could just wait and see if I can use that scene later on. And I thought that this could be that later on for chapter 28. So I got I'm sorry if you guys can hear the jet. I just now realized that they're flying again, so I'm sorry about the noise. I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it but to stop filming, and I only have so much time in the day to film. So we're just gonna have to let the sound of freedom go on in the background. Anyway, so I thought that scene would work for chapter 28 now. See, chapter 27, I managed to set it up in a way that would transition well to chapter 28, where something could happen as also a transition to get to that scene. But I finished writing the outline, well, more like a rough draft of that scene, because that's how my outlines look like. That's why I don't write the outline until before I write the scene. Anyway, so I wrote that outline for the start of chapter 28, and I think it's a good chapter with the conflict and shit. That should have been, well, it's still a great transition for that scene, but that scene would have to change, because even if I pushed it, the transition scene, the start of chapter 28, there's no problem with it. It flowed beautifully, but because of where it's at the story now, the actual scene that I wanted to keep, that's the one that now has to change, because it doesn't make sense, I think, for it to still go the way that I've written it in the earlier outline for that earlier chapter, because I don't think it makes sense for the characters to act that way anymore. And the way that the side characters have acted at the start of chapter 28, I could maybe push it to make it believable for them to act that way. But I have to really work on the psychology in there to actually sell it. There has to have a logical explanation for it to happen that way. And I would have to follow it up with some emotional beats, because it was a big thing. But for that much work just to keep this particular scene in the book, do I really need to do that? That's the dilemma. Am I pushing too hard just to have this scene, and pushing it in the way that I'm losing sight of the characters and their personalities and the logical way that they would have acted if I wasn't pushing for this scene to happen? Am I ignoring the red flags, basically, just to have this scene in the book? That's a dilemma. So, for the second sprint, I think I would need to outline again chapter 28 from the start, disregarding what I had already outlined last week, in a way that I would totally ignore that scene that I wanted to add. I'm gonna just take that out of my mind, kill the darling, kill that scene, even though I really wanted it to happen, and just let it go. And then we'll see how chapter 28 is actually going to pan out without that scene hanging over my head and my expectations for it. So that's what we're gonna do. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna figure that out, and I'll let you guys know at the end how it worked out. So I'll talk to you guys later. So, that's the third sprint done, and let me update you on how the second sprint went, and then we'll talk about how this one went. So I did some more brainstorming for chapter 28, and I think it would make sense to still keep what I had written last week on that chapter, even though the scenes, even though the scene that I've already outlined last week supposedly is a transitional one for that one that I wanted to keep, which now is axed. I axed it out. It's not gonna happen anymore. But regardless of the fact that I'm not gonna use that scene anymore, the scene that I've written for chapter 28's outline still stands. I think it would still be a great scene. It was chaotic, but it was the good kind of chaos going on in the characters' lives, and it's fun. It's giving me joy seeing them like that. But anyway, even though I want to keep that scene, I wanted to edit out something from the chapter before. I think chapter 27. And I would need because I added a foreshadowing in chapter 27 about this chaos in chapter 28. But I added it in a way that we're gonna be expecting the chaos to come from someone else, which quite honestly is now not needed. It's not needed anymore. So I'm gonna write it down here in my editing notebook, not to be confused from my brainstorming notebook over here. But I need to make that note on my editing notes here that I wanted to implement for the third draft. I'm not gonna go back to the scene, search it out, and then edit it right now, because I'm thinking that is a third draft kind of edit. It's a small one. It's not foundational anymore, especially cutting it out of the chapter 27 is not really gonna change anything anymore, since I'm gonna write chapter 28 in a way that part is basically negligible. So let me write that down real quick. I'm sure it was chapter 27. Hold on. Nope, chapter 26. It was from chapter 26. When they got to the mansion. Yep, it's close to the end of chapter 26. Done. So by taking this foreshadowing out of chapter 26, going to chapter 27 and now to chapter 28 should take care of that little mini side character arc there that is not needed anyway, because something chaotic still happened, but it came from somewhere else. And I actually like what I have now compared to what this foreshadowing was alluding to in the first place. So that's that. And then after I did some brainstorming for the logistics and the logical sense of the side characters for doing what they did and the main characters' reactions and shit like that, make sure that the logic stands for what had happened. After I brainstorm all that, I started implementing some changes in the actual outline, actually changing the draft, because my outlines are basically rough drafts, and then I will rewrite it on my next writing sprint in the actual chapter 28 of draft 2.5. Those are gonna be new words again. It's not gonna be copy paste. Anyway, so I wrote a little bit in that. So all in all, I have a calculator here because those are two separate numbers. I didn't want to do mental math. So I wrote 930 words for the 45 minutes I sprinted on the second sprint. For the second sprint, it's 930 words. And then I decided to make my lunch, which you all saw during the B-roll earlier. And then I decided to jump on the third sprint while eating because, you know, instead of scrolling through social media, I decided to just continue with the third sprint. So the third sprint, I basically finished the entire outline for chapter 28, and I didn't time myself for that because I decided to write for as long as I needed to finish the actual outline. And so I did, and it got done along with my lunch. So basically, I wrote 702 words during that third sprint. That wasn't a sprint. I decided to change the ending though. While I was writing that outline during the third sprint, I decided to change the ending because now that I'm not going to connect this chapter to that scene that I wanted, I changed the scenes, not necessarily middle, but close to the middle end, all the way to the end. I changed the way those went in the scene. We have few more dialogues, some revelations, and some more chaos. So yeah, that's all for today's writing sessions. I've mapped out my bad guys' movements in the background, figure out how I wanted the next chapter to go, finished the outline on that, wrote some words which totaled to something, which totaled to 1,632 words for the day, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that workout for the day. I'm gonna log that in later in my notes in my iPad. But for right now, it's 1:38 p.m. I'm gonna go take the pupper out, stretch for a few, move around a bit because my kids are gonna be home soon, and then it will be time to make dinner. And I'll bring you with me while I do that as well. And then later tonight, after that, is my PM schedule, which would be editing time, YouTube admin and YouTube editing time. So as you can see, most of the day goes to writing, and then chores afterwards, and then YouTube time during the evening. So I'll take you on those times. I might not be able to sit down with you and talk with you later once everyone's home because I still find it weird to talk to the camera when others are home, even if it's my kids, if they're down here. And especially since my husband should be coming home soon too. So, and he's the one who stays down here with me most of the time. I still haven't learned how not to feel weird about that yet. So yeah, I will take you with me on some B-rolls, and then I'm thinking not tomorrow but Wednesday I'm gonna close out the vlog. Tomorrow we have a scheduled blackout and it's gonna be for the entire day, and I don't want to film and write tomorrow. Basically, well, I wanted to, but because of the blackout, it's basically a forced day off for me because it's basically the whole day and I don't want any of my devices to die on me while doing that. Maybe I will write a little bit tomorrow, but definitely no filming. So I'll get back to you guys on Wednesday. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the vlog and I'll see you again later.
Like, just sit back, enjoy the party. She then changed her story and said it was her wedding gift to us. Depends on how good she is. Husband politely declined and said the ceremony was already planned and to change it now was too much trouble. Yeah, like, don't you need to be like set up with AV and stuff like that in order to accommodate a request like this? It's actually so unbelievably common for families to interject like this. Like, it seems small. No, but this
somebody's life. This is the story of Choke by Chuck Palahniuk, a man who pretends to choke at restaurants to make a living so that he can pay for his mom. So she's in the deposition, and I didn't throw the pie away. It was a silly end. My feelings got hurt over a comment on the pod, and I did apologize to Gabrielle because I think my feelings were hurt and I was sulky, but I thought it was all forgotten and we were fine after that. You know, I was a little sulky that night, and the next day everything was fine. I'd forgotten about it until it came up yesterday, but I really thought nothing of it, and I thought she thought nothing of it too. Well, what was the comment that was exciting to you? I don't remember if it was much of a comment so much. It was, you know, I made dinner and I made this pie and I was excited.
So it's April 23rd, Wednesday, and as promised, I came back to close out the vlog for you guys. So, dinner for Monday night was hayashi beef with turmeric rice, and I didn't get to film any clips of me making the rice because before the hayashi beef was even done cooking, my energy plummeted real low, and now that I've started editing the first part of that vlog, I've been cutting out a bunch of me coughing in the clips, and I didn't realize it then, but I think I was starting to get sick, and that was evident yesterday when I didn't film and we had that whole base power outage, which is why I was doing the outro today instead of yesterday. So my energy plummeted real low, and I still managed to get down to start editing just to show you guys how my schedule really was, and I managed to film a couple of clips while I was editing the first part of this vlog. And usually I do video edits around 1.5 or 2 hours during the night after dinner, but that night I think I managed about an hour of focused work on it, and then I had to stop and we needed to go to bed because I needed the sleep. I've been having trouble falling asleep at night and then waking up early in the morning. Probably one of the reasons why my immune system is acting up right now. But anyway, so we went to bed early that night, same as we did last night too, because last night I was really sick, and then I woke up to my husband having had injured his foot, and now he's just running real quick to urgent care, and I don't know what my schedule is gonna be for the rest of the week when it comes to my writing. I might only have time to edit this vlog for the rest of the week and then post it Saturday for me, Friday for you guys. And then, because aside from my husband needing extra help right now because of his injury, tomorrow and on Friday he needed my computer for some schooling stuff that he needed to do for work. I don't think I'm gonna be able to write much this week, so if you're interested in watching my rough draft challenge vlog that I'm still filming, I will be posting that on, let me check the dates real quick. That should go up on May 3rd for me, which is May 2nd for you guys. That should go up May 2nd for you guys, and we will both find out how that vlog is going to turn out, if I'd actually manage to hit my word count goal for the month. And it's gonna be a discovery for not just you, but it's gonna be a discovery for me too, because I don't know how my writing for the month is gonna end, and we'll see. So if you've liked this vlog, please don't forget to hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more of my content, please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified every time I post a new video. And if you made it this far, leave me a dog emoji down there at the comments in honor of Ayn, who is sleeping down here beside my desk and had been a good boy the entire time that I vlogged the other day. He's aware that I'm the only one at home, and when I talk to the camera and no one else is around, he thinks it's weird, and that causes some anxiety. But on Monday, he was such a good boy. He was calm the entire day, so let's leave that emoji down there for him. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!